So, with Biden in the lead in the crucial state of Pennsylvania, he is firmly in the driving seat to replace Donald Trump in the White House. However, if Trump is defeated, his populist movement is likely to live on. In what has been one of the most partisan elections in history, a key challenge will be uniting a fractured country. To discuss this, I'm joined by David Schultz, a professor in political science at Hamline University in Minnesota. Thank you very much for joining us here. Is that even a possibility, that America can get united after what it's been through over the past divisive 4 years?
It's going to be very difficult to do that because we came into this election very divided and we walk out of it very divided, and the current president, Donald Trump, has not really sort of used any type of language in terms of being graceful or in terms of being a gracious loser. So it's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot to heal not just the election wounds, but the deeper divisions in America. I mean, we really are almost like two nations, very separate and living in very different, I'm going to say, very different nations within the United States.
How do you enact that sort of change, though? Does it come from the top? Do you need to show that the political divide is coming together in order to get change moving down through society?
It's a combination of setting tone, but also it's going to be about public policy. And what people forget, for example, in the United States, some of the things that have been driving the division in the United States have been what? In the last 40 years, the gap between the rich and poor in the United States has reached levels that we haven't seen since the 1920s. Additionally, we've now started to see situations where we live, Democrats, Republicans live in very different areas. So we have a lot of public policy in terms of urban social welfare that also needs to come along with setting a tone from the top down.
Now, some of the division has been caused by the way that Donald Trump has acted while he has occupied the office of president. Just looking most recently to his actions over the past few days, his campaign launching these legal campaigns, the bids in several of those very tight states. Could that have an impact on how future elections are carried out in the US? Could this become the norm now, where elections just become very litigious?
Possibly. We already knew that before this election started, this was the most heavily litigated leading into the election. It's probably going to still be. This has been a trend building for 20 years, since back in 2000 with Bush v. Gore in Florida. And this is just going to be a trend in the United States for a while. So I don't see it. I don't see it changing dramatically, but nonetheless, Trump has really exacerbated these divisions, has really run consistently a campaign aimed only at his base and speaking only to his supporters, and has never tried to reach out. And that's been a dangerous move that one hopes with the next president, if it were to be Biden, that we would move beyond that. But it's going to take a long time to set that tone again, to set that policy, and perhaps we're going to need to do some significant also election reform in the United States to address some of these problems too.
I imagine Joe Biden's got a lot on his plate at the moment, but just on the off chance that he's sitting here watching Euronews, what would you say to him if he's listening in order to try and bring America back together?
I think the first thing I would say to him, he needs to be reaching out to those who did not vote for him. And again, setting a tone of saying that, yes, you didn't vote for me, but you're part of my America. Much in the same way in the last presidential debate, he made a statement about that. I think he needs to do more of that, but he needs to do more than just talk. He needs to reach out with deeds and, again, with policy that reaches across. But he also needs to get the Republicans in the Senate and in the House to also reach across the aisle too. And Joe Biden's instinct from 37 years in the Senate is to do exactly that, and will be put to a test as president if he's elected.
And just finally, just before I let you go, how much has this election, do you think, been a referendum on Trump's leadership?
It was all about Donald Trump. It's always been about Donald Trump, and that's going to be one of the challenges also, that the Democrats ran against Trump and it got him elected. Now the question is, can they take that anger against Trump and again forge it into public policy to do something?
Thank you so much for joining us there. David Schultz joining us from the US. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
Okay, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to you Akim out there that's been pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. This is post-elections. And what we have here is just like what the Apostle Tahar said. He don't believe this election is going to be decided on election night. Now here we have all kind of fraud taking place with the elections. We have Donald Trump claiming that he's going to go to the Supreme Court. And this reminds me of, that's like Homeboy said in this in the video that you just saw of 2000 with Al Gore and George Bush. Now, Al Gore clearly won the election, but it was given to George Bush. Why? Because George Bush was the United States' first dictator. Because he was in place there by the so-called electoral vote. He was placed there by the Supreme Court, which led him to be a dictator. You see, Donald Trump, he's gone on the notions that there's been fraud committed against him. And then you have the Trump supporters out there rioting and looting because they feel that Donald Trump has been cheated. But Donald Trump, let me say this, Donald Trump, he's an outright straight up racist. And then you have crazy Joe Biden, the pedophile. And he claims to be united and not a racist, but there's clips of him back when he was a senator of Delaware saying racist things towards blacks. But now that he have a so-called black woman as his running mate, a vice president, these jakes jumped on the bandwagon and voted for him because, oh, he's not a racist. He got black people. Donald Trump is a racist. That stigma has been on Donald Trump for a long time, him being a racist. Going back to the Central Park 5, him not apologizing. But that's neither here nor there. The thing is, this country is divided. And that's how you know when a kingdom or an empire is on a straight decline, because there be divisions amongst each other, arguing, uproars, and we see that. We see that right now in this country, in this empire, the empire of America, which is Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon. We see infighting, uproars, usurping, coups. All this is taking place in the land of America. And before anything, we ought to measure the times. And when we see these things, pursuant to 2nd Ezra 9:1, in which I'm not going to get, because we all know these scriptures. Pursuant to 2nd Ezra 9:1, we ought to measure the times diligently. And we see these uproars of the people protesting, earthquakes in diverse places, pestilence, and we know that we're at the end of Esau's rulership. This country is on a steady decline. Matthew chapter 12, verse 20. I'm gonna start at 22, so you can get the understanding of what I'm getting at. This is Matthew chapter 12, verse 22. Then was brought unto him being Yahushua, one possessed with a devil, blind and dumb, and he healed him. See, because Yahushua has spiritual powers, and certain men, starting with the apostles on down, is going to receive spiritual power, man. See, this is spiritual power. Powers we can able to heal and give the blind sight. So I'm going to read on. Back in Matthew chapter 12, verse 22. Then was brought unto him one possessed, him being Yahushua, with a devil, blind and dumb. And he healed him, insomuch that the blind and dumb spake and saw. And all the people were amazed and said, Is not this the son of David? Surely that they understood reincarnation. It's only the wacky-tacky Christians of this era that don't have a clue what's going on. Back then they understood reincarnation, man. That's why they says that this is the son of David. But the Pharisees heard it and said, This fellow doth not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of the devils. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. You see, America is divided, so therefore this country is going to be brought to desolation through thermonuclear destruction and concentrated fire from them chariots, man. We're in the beginning stages, or should I say the middle stages of the decline of Esau's empire, man, approaching the end. That's the proper term. We're approaching the end of the rulership or the empire of Esau, man. Esau being the so-called white man. So I'm going to read it again. It says, back in Matthew chapter 12, verse 27, I'm going to go to 26. And if Satan is cast out by Slack, let me go back to 25. But Yahushua knew their thoughts, and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. And this kingdom is definitely divided against each other. You got the Democrats divided heavily against the Republicans. And you got the Republicans heavily divided against the Democrats. You got the Trump supporters and you got the Biden supporters. And they out there protesting, ready to go to blows over candidates that has strings attached unto them and really are not for their benefit, and they really are not for their welfare. The candidates, Trump and Biden, are there to do the bidding of the international bankers. So these people are lost. They don't understand the true nature of this presidency or this presidential reality TV show. Because that's all it is, man. They don't have a clue what's really going on. If you go back to the speech the letter that was written by John D. Rockefeller in 1932, I think it's 32 or 1931, he said, and I quote, Presidents are not elected, they are selected. Now who's selecting these presidents, man? It's damn sure not the people, because the people are supposed to be electing them. This is not really a democracy, man. And y'all gonna soon find that out, because Esau is gonna start showing his horns. If Biden is put in the office, hey, know for surety that he's gonna amp things up, man. He's gonna raise the taxes. He's gonna do a lot of grimy, shicey things for the international bankers, man. And certain people see that. It says, and if Satan cast out Satan, verse 26, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Because this country cannot stand because it's divided, man. Totally divided against itself, man. And a country that's divided is going to fall. There's an old saying that Esau used to like to push. United we stand, divided we fall. And this country is divided to the point where it's about to crumble. It's crumbling right before our eyes, man. You got protesting, you got food shortages, you got everything that leads a person to know that if they on point, that a country is in its decline. Each time going back to the ancient world, when the empire was on a steady decline, you've seen usurpers, you've seen coups, uproars. You've seen it all, man. And America is no different from the ancient empires that ruled in the ancient world. And when that empire came to a decline or state of abrupt end, then that was it. That was it, man. That was it. Say so, hey, man. Like it reads in Matthew chapter 12, verse 26. And if Satan cast out Satan, he's divided against himself. Because they was calling Yahushua Beelzebub. So he cast out devils through Beelzebub, the prince of the devils. So Yahushua came back with this. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do ye children cast them out? Therefore Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of Yahweh, then the kingdom of Yahweh is coming to you. Because he performing miracles and he's bringing the truth, man, but people rejected him. The 2/3 of you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, at the time it was just Judah there. 2/3 rejected. It was the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. 2/3 rejected Yahweh Shah, man. The same thing they doing to this day, man. Rejecting Yahweh Shah, despite seeing all these uproars and all these things coming to pass, man. You see, in order for you to understand that we're at the end of the rulership of Esau, you have to measure the times, like I said earlier, man. 2nd Ezra is 9:1. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is that which followeth, man. 2nd Ezra 6. Matter of fact, I'm going to get that real quick. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse, I'm going to start at 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau was born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau. Because it was prophesied, it was prophesied, or it was through the spirit that Esau was born first and Jacob hand held his hill. Because that's symbolic to Esau being snatched out of his rulership by Jake. By the elect. When Yahweh Shah cracked them skies, bringing death, destruction, and deliverance, man, that's Esau and the 2/3 and the rest of the people that's here, the rest of the nations that's here, that's their ass, man. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Because Esau's world, the age or the eon of Esau is coming to an abrupt end, and it's going to bring in a new rulership. That's why I made a new heaven and a new earth. It's not going to be new. The earth is going to be refreshed. That word kainos means to refresh, man. So, we talking about the end of Esau's world. The end of Esau, the so-called white man's rulership, is coming to an end. Esau's empire is drastically declining and divided. And that's the bottom line. That's prophecy. And that's throughout history. Each time a nation or an empire came to an end or was approaching its end, it was all kind of chaos there, man. And America is no different. America is no different, man. So with that, hey, hope I came out there was edified. It was a quick lesson, you know. Giving all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakah Kwadash. And once again, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. With that, I'm going to say Shalom.